So Apple just announced that they're going to be making a huge update to the UI system, and they're going to be redesigning the whole UI and adding this new feature called glossy effect, if I'm correct. This animation looks really cool, really smooth, just super clean, minimalistic, and by the end of this video, you are going to know exactly how to make it yourself in After Effects. Now, before we jump into the tutorial, I just want to say that all the assets that I show in the video are going to be completely free in my Discord server, so join it and you can download them for completely free, and it's going to save you so much time. But without further ado, let's open up After Effects and start working. Okay, so the first thing that you're going to be adding into our project is going to be the background. Now, you can add any background really, but the backgrounds that I think are going to look the best with this effect are actually going to be the animated background. So you can either use this one that's going to be the asset pack, make one yourself, or just find one on the internet. Okay, enough with the background. Let's continue with the tutorial. Now, the first thing we're going to be adding is we're going to go right here and we're going to hold the click, and then we're going to select this rounded rectangle tool and just make like a pop-up window basically. Now that we have this pop-up window, we are of course gonna align it, so it's gonna be in the center. Now, let me actually change a couple of things. I'm gonna change the roundness. I don't really like that it's not round enough. Something like this looks a lot better in my opinion. Now we're gonna change the, the color of the pop-up window to something like white. That looks good. Now play around with the size, play around with the roundness of this pop-up window or this basically object. Once you're done and once you're satisfied with how it looks, what we're going to be doing is actually duplicating it, right? So we got a second layer. We're going to drag this second layer below our first one that we made, and we're actually going to open up scale first, and we're going to go right here and parent scale from our second layer to the first one that we made. So basically, if we scale up the first one, which is going to be the main one, it's also going to scale the one that's going to be behind it, right? Now let's do the same for position, and that is very important that you do it. So now we parented position and we parented scale. Now what we're going to be doing next is make sure that this first layer, shape 1 layer, is not visible. We're going to focus on shape layer 2. What we're going to go is right here, and we're going to make sure that this is selected. Now, the object should not be visible on the screen. That means that this is working. So what we're going to do right now is go and actually add effects to this, right? Go to the effects panel, and we're going to search for box blur. Now, you're going to drag it onto shape layer 2, and now play around with the blur, how much you want this window to be blurred. For example, something like this, right? It's really up to you how much you want this window to blur the background. Okay, now that that is done, what we're gonna do is go back to shape layer 1. We're gonna make sure that this is visible again, right? So now what we're gonna do is right click shape layer 1, and now we're gonna go to layer styles, and we're gonna add this bevel and emboss, right? We're gonna add it, and now you should get something like this. Now, as you guys can see, we just added this nice edges. What we're gonna do is actually remove this white color so it's actually transparent. So what you're gonna do is go to layer styles, blending options, advanced blending, and you should see fill opacity right here. We're gonna lower it down to 0. Now, as you guys can see, this is now transparent, which is really cool. So now we're gonna go down to bevel and emboss, and we're going to play around with these settings. Now, the first thing that you are probably going to want to change is soften, because right now the shadows are very harsh, this highlight is very harsh. We're going to soften it up a bunch. Just, play around until you get something that you like. I'm just going to put it to max, which for me is 16. Play around with the size, with the depth. I'm going to put it to a little bit lower, something like 60, 50, and this already looks so much better. As you guys can see, this is already coming to life. Now, if you're a video editor and you want to make video editing your job, but you're struggling with getting clients, you want to learn more animations on how to edit videos. I have my own learning program where I teach you exactly step by step from how you can learn all of the video editing programs that are necessary, in my opinion, to getting your first client and start getting money. So you can start getting clients and making video editing your dream job. And if that is something you're interested in, go in the description. It's going to be the first link and you can join the waitlist for this program. By the way, you have to hurry up because the waitlist has a limited amount of people that can join. So make sure to be quick. Now let's move on to the tutorial. Now, what we can do is actually add one more thing to the bottom layer. So go to shape layer 2, go to effects, and now search for turbulent displace. And we're going to drag it onto this, shape layer 2. And what this is just going to be doing, and this is just going to be, distorting the image, is going to be waving it around. And now what you're going to do is play around with the settings. As you guys can see, this is displacing the image a little bit, but we can go more. We can go, for example, 300 right here. As you guys can see, this is displacing it a lot more now, which I don't like personally. So let's put it back to 50. And yeah, right here, as you guys can see, it makes a little bit of a difference, but I think that is what you want. You want subtle difference. In this case, I'm going to go with 50. I'll play around with these settings until you get something that you like, because this turbulent displacement effect is going to be depending on what type of background you have, right? It's really going to depend on what background you have. For me, this settings work the best. Now that we have the look and we stylized it, we can actually go and animate this pop-up window so it actually pops up. So let me show you how to do that. Now what I had in mind for the animation is, so on the start it's like a button, press it and then it scales up. So let me show you how we're going to do this. Go to shape layer 1, press stopwatch icon on scale. Then you selected scale. What we're going to do is move the first keyframe a little bit forward, and now we're going to actually scale it down so it's going to be basically like a small button, something like this. So if you play back the animation, this is what it looks like. Right now it does look the best. So select these two keyframes that we just made, right click on them, keyframe assistance, and we're going to select ease. Now we're going to go to the graph and first select this first keyframe, and we're just going to make the animation so it starts off really fast and kind of slows down. So make sure to drag this to the left, and we're also going to drag this to the left a little bit. So now if we play it back, the animation should start fast and should gradually slow down. So this is what the animation looks like. I'm just going to make sure that drag this a little bit. Here we go. This looks much better now, right? This already looks like something Apple would make. So now let's go further. But as you guys can see, we have a problem where the animation starts. It starts in the middle of the screen, right? The bubble is centered. But when you play it back and it scales up, it's not really centered. So how I'm going to fix this is press P on our keyboard and stopwatch icon for position. I'm going to move the first keyframe on the start. Now this is where our animation ends, and I'm just going to make sure that when the animation finishes, it's actually properly centered. So now we play it back. So if I play back the animation now, it should look something like this. Pretty good, pretty cool in my opinion. But now what I want to do is I actually want to make the bubble that it slides into the frame, and then it's like a pressing animation, and only then it scales up. So how I'm going to do this is I'm actually going to create a new and null object. And what I'm going to do now is actually go to shape layer 1. I'm going to parent it to the null object, right? So if we go to null object and we go to position, if we play around and if we move null 1, as you guys can see, it's actually going to move the shape layer 1. Now I'm also going to make sure to parent this, the bottom shape layer, which is shape layer 2, also to the null, so they both get affected by this. if I position it just like so. So the first thing is I'm gonna actually move the animation from shape layer 1 to a little bit forward, since we're gonna be animating the intro for this button. So I'm just gonna animate it like this. Now go back to our position for our null object, and let's animate it by clicking the stopwatch icon. I'll drag the first keyframe a little bit forward and create a new one on the start. And we're gonna go right here and just make sure it starts off screen, just like so. Select these two keyframes, right click, keyframe assistant, and we're gonna go and select easy ease. Now, of course, go to the graph, and we're gonna do the same as what we did before. So it starts off really fast and then kind of slows down like we did before. Something like this should look good. Play back. Now this already looks pretty good in my opinion. Here we go, just like so. And what I'm going to do now, I'm happy with this null object. I'm happy with this animation, how it slides in. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go right here, right click. I'm going to create a new null object. I'm going to actually go to the first null object that we made. I'm actually going to parent it to the null 2 that we made. Now I'm going to animate the scale for it, just like so. I'm actually going to make 3 keyframes. So 1, 2, and 3. Now if you go to the middle keyframe and we actually set it to, I don't know, let's scale it down. So it kind of looks like we are pressing it as a button. And we're gonna put this in the middle. So this is what we get. I'm gonna select all of these keyframes, right click, keyframe assistance, and press easy ease, just like so. Here we go. So now I'm just gonna play around with the keyframes, make it a little bit shorter. Now the button animation now looks something like this, which I think looks pretty cool. But now what I'm gonna do is actually go to the last keyframe and I'm gonna extend it a little bit, just slightly. And I'm gonna make sure that the animation from shape layer 1 actually starts at the same time as the button is going back to the original, from being pressed to the original shape. So I'm actually gonna make sure that the first 2 keyframes from the shape layer 1 animation start at the exact same time that, that basically the first 2 keyframes align with the middle one for null object 2. So it's gonna go from being pressed to, going outwards and scaling up, just like so. And now if you play back the animation with everything that we just done, it should look something like this. Now this looks exactly like something Apple would make, and I think it just looks incredible, right? So, and yeah, now you got your own Apple style animation. If you want to add anything, for example, like a text, just make sure that you parent it to shape layer 1. But yeah, the animation looks great, but it still feels empty. And that's because it doesn't have any sound design. And if you want to add sound design, and if you want to learn how to add sound design and bring your animations to life, watch the video on the screen right now.